And here we go, Mr. Cutinella.
Hello.
What's up, brother? I
Yeah.
love the mock entry of this. Like, hey,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. How
dude,
are you? I'm
I'm
in a
good,
phone
man.
booth in New York.
I was just there. I was talking to actually about this. I mean, first of all, congratulations. I want to hear about the new deal, but on that, I was just talking to a new agency partner yesterday. I got to remember the name of the company. I was just introduced, friend to friend.
Yep.
Will, who's the COO at Camp, um,
I met Will.
introduced him. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
is has been up in New England where he's from. He's back in Mexico where he lives full time. But I've been looking for a partner on, speaking of creative development, that can be this kind of like fast reaction content partner for us. So he introduced me to this guy Todd, who just emailed me out of New York. And what is his last name? I want to give him a shout out. Todd Broder. And he's like, same path, but he's stuck with the agency world in New York. And we were working with him or trying to work with other partners because we need like somebody that can produce a video in like 48 hours,
Oh wow.
right? This is just like, and what I've been looking for is like literally a hot brief team. Hey, here's the latest thing, 48 hours. Here's the idea. Just produce something. And we're going with more of an irreverent kind of brand, anyways. And it's difficult, man. It's difficult finding partners that like you trust to get it done, that get the voice without having to be told, and honestly, that haven't been brutalized by this agency brand partner world.
That's the thing, right? And efficiency and trust, right? And speed,
Yeah,
right? Because people hear speed, you could go two ways. Like, all right, that's expensive, or it's going to be shitty,
yeah,
right? And like, agencies is such a, and you had one. It's such an interesting word because they're needed to a certain point, but I don't want to say despise meeting with them, but like it's like I'm always like brand first,
yeah,
right? To
yeah,
to really articulate like the vision, right?
yeah.
Of especially what I do for a living, right? So when I get introduced to the agency, I'm like, oh, they want it feels like I'm pitching a VC. It's like, there is no elevator pitch, dude. My elevator pitch is an hour. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
elevator pitch should be 5 fucking minutes,
yeah.
So yeah, I feel
Dude,
you. Yeah.
but you have a good path, man. Like just to it's always funny because you and I have known each other for like 18 years. Like we've been in the trenches together, literally.
Still are
um
sometimes, but
yeah, no, that's true, but like we met because like you were selling media for a publication, and I was leading creative for the brand and the agency, and now it's
yeah,
flipped, and like you've got a media company. You're doing
yep.
TV, you're doing content, you're doing publication, you're doing craziness, which I want to get into, which is awesome. You've always had that vision, but at one point, like you had, I mean, and I'm sure you have a little bit, but you produce the content, right? So it's like you have
Yep.
this amazing, I think, very future forward looking portion of it where it's like you control the content and the publication and the media outlet, right? It's
Is the
cool.
distribution, right?
Yeah,
And you see a lot of agencies pitching their storytellers, which by far they are to a certain point, but it's always dictated by what the client story is. They hire the agency where we're truly editorial.
yeah,
And the way we fund our editorial is finding the most unique distribution platforms in the
yeah,
luxury and leisure hospitality and travel space, right?
yeah, yeah,
And we make our money through our media partners, which in turn, as you know, gives us full creativity of the
yeah,
editorial message,
yeah,
which is so many steps because people and agencies and I'm not here talking bad about agencies. We work with a ton of them, but
yeah.
they want to tell the story, but it still has to have a marketing message,
That's right.
which literally affects the story sometimes. And it all they feel like. We grew up in really good commercials, like the old Super Bowl commercials, right? But it
Yeah,
was still, like the Bud Bowl. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that
The
was the
Bud Bowl
best.
was funny.
That was great, right? But you know, it's just like Budweiser did something better than, you know, Coors,
Yeah.
right? But it was still a marketing message where there's
Yeah.
this branded content or branded storytelling that's really misunderstood sometimes,
Totally.
of like, what is the true story and how do you make it brandy storytelling, but then you're like, well, don't put the brand in there because that defeats it. But you're like, it's the brand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
point is like, I chose a long time ago to take that extra step to sell media, which is challenging in today's world because I'm competing with every social platform in the
Yeah.
world in regards to media dollars,
You're
which,
literally dealing with the government of China with TikTok. Like it's the most popular, proliferated thing out there,
and it
and they can
works.
control it and fund it, and it works. Yeah,
And it
it's
works.
wild.
So, and that's why I go, boom. And if you read my last press release and you look at
Yeah,
my quote, it's noisy though.
bro.
It works and it's noisy and it's a pain in the ass and people use it, but our media platform is very targeted. It's different.
I was literally, this has been a subject of the last week and a half with a number of people, from like crazy people I've met at the dog park walking my dog to like to execs and our internal team, and it's the noise out there, right? Like I've been trying to champion for every day when we do our launch and our activation. One, our brand voice, and I'll talk to you about it a little later, but two, even our channels. And you know, what I'm getting back to is like, yeah, there's a lot of noise out there, and it's very easy to rest on the laurels of these metrics, right? But especially for a startup, for a small business, for a luxury travel type of audience, right? There is absolute 100% value in taking a step back and making it very visceral, tangible, tactical. Is like that is still there for us. Like you have this great media and you have a captured audience, right? Because you go into the room, you go and you research, before your trip, you actually
Yeah.
you have this quality. It's been one of the things I've loved. Like you and I have always had that touch. I remember the first ad we did with you back in the day before your company
Yeah,
was
dude.
the fifth color ad where we just did the varnish. Like,
Way ahead of the time. And like the only one that, I mean, I remember remember the Nike, what is it, Nike 5.0 or whatever it
yeah,
was. It
yeah,
was that and a Hinano ad that just crushed everyone.
crush.
It was like people
Yeah,
were like, and I was like, dude, you knew to how to
yeah.
take it. The bottom line is that never goes away. You just have to
No,
find the right audience that wants that.
that's exactly it, man. We've been talking about it too. Is like, listen, you're doing a startup, and like for us, right? Like so it's funny, man, because what you're talking about is a little bit vertical, like going from not just the storytelling and the brand and the editorial and the media, right, and controlling that distribution. And it's like for us in the everyday platform, we're looking at like the unification of just ideas, like a single platform where you don't have to spread them out. You just have it just inherently on this one thing. I can't wait to show you, by the way, where it's come. We have to get you on. It's
Can't wait.
it's dude, it's unreal. Sean is absolutely crushing it right now, and the dev team, and like it's great. We had a call. We've had two calls in the last like 2 weeks with like professionals. One's like the COO of this other company, and one's this like 3-time growth dude at startups. But they know the process, and they've both just been like, "Yep, let's go." Like they're getting it now. But more importantly, man, is like we're looking at it and it's like, dude, I don't need to be lost in digital. The digital ads I see may get an impression, but we know, you and I both know on the media side that they're inflated, right? And number
Oh,
two,
dude, the reporting is so inflated is an understatement. And that's another thing. Like I trust me, my sales side of me is like I compete with them and I'm like, great, 1 gazillion views. You sold stuff, but I don't even, my numbers are so not inflated because I'm just utilizing an airline or hotel or residence already built in occupancy rate,
yeah,
passenger load. I
yeah,
can't lie. It's
yeah,
literally coming. It's
yeah.
smaller, but it's just like,
But it's
that's
more
why
captured.
it's
It,
super. Yeah, exactly.
dude, it's more captured, and that's like, I like I've tried to have this discussion with people. Is like I can't tell like how to communicate the zeitgeist right now that I think the trend is going. But I can tell you my personal experience, which is if I actually see digital ads now and they're pushed to me, in a lot of ways, I actually discount that brand
Good.
because I'm very aware of like, okay, you're creeping on all my information and you're listening to me right
Oh,
now.
dude, like you know me. I wear hats, cardigans, and sneakers. Like Todd Snyder, I'm giving a free shout to Todd Snyder. They've never run media. However, I did meet Michael, the marketing director, great guy, and he gave me a
Tell
little
him I have a micro corduroy shirt of theirs that I love.
yeah, like tell him I got he gave me a little VIP card and I'm grateful because I it's like the elevated J Crew, you know,
Yeah,
they all
yeah,
came from J Crew, and he must have did something, not Michael, but like boom, cardigan, a cotton
yeah.
version of this. I was like, I need a cotton version of this. Goddamn Instagram. So what I got me, but they knew exactly what I want. So it works, but and you're right. If I don't follow the brand personally, it is completely garbage to me.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
I'm like, I know what I like, I know what I wear, and if they're gonna follow me around, fine. But like,
yeah,
you know, the companies that are trying to be a Todd Snyder or a Louis Vuitton or a
yeah,
Fendi,
yeah.
you're like they figured out how to get my data too. So
Well, and that's
anyway,
what. So I no, but I was having this discussion, man. Like back to even the media and like getting companies growing, right? I was having this discussion with one of our advisors, and they were talking about like very high level brand stuff going on and communications with the top of the brands. And one of them, like the anecdotal story that was told to me was basically this big wig who grew up in the heyday of great brands and has watched the evolution, like brand advertising, and watched the evolution into digital, like is expressing conversations about, even the practitioners are now totally disconnected because they have to hide behind these numbers. And we're so analytic driven that we're totally detached from actual consumers, right? And activations and that is where big companies slip, I believe, right? Because listen, a great physical connection, a great brand connection is goes beyond you have the right product in the right time. It's an identity piece, right? Like the great cardigan, the great hat, like what that's been used since the beginning. I remember like your hats
yeah,
are some of the most memorable things. Like I've seen you in
yeah,
literal top hats, man. Like
yeah.
I like, and I'm a hat guy. Like I get it, but
You got to
beyond
look
that,
into
it's
this brand, Quaker Marine.
Quaker
So
Marine.
you got, I could see you in one of these because we both have the sailor kind of look. It's a sailor's hat. It's marine people. It's like what's a yacht people. So they're long, but see how long? It's like a duck, right? So I cut through the wind quick. So
Dude,
and
you
they have they're
speaking
nice.
of, man, I'm aerodynamic now. You should see me in the water. I'm slippery, man. I swim real quick. But no, but like we were talking about it, and we were talking about just like getting back to a place of being in touch and actually like tangibly with people again, right? And it's like you see, I don't know, like especially in consumer product goods, but like even for us with like a SaaS tool, is like literally like the latest thing that I'm talking about, and man, I'd love your perspective, and we'll get deeper on this, but like I've been trying to find our, like our real tangible message because I know it inherently. And I know it when I talk to anybody now, right? Like that's in this space, yourself, we have investors, users, like just friends, advisors, big people at brands and agencies, like our ICP. It's like the technology that we use is so removed from our day-to-day lives. The features that are pushed, right? Like we're talking about it, like the MailChimps and the this, that, and the others, they're so far removed from what our actual day is because they're
Yeah,
just trying, they're so blatant about just trying to capture our information. And they don't give a shit. Like if you see our competitive set advertising, I did a media exercise, like old school art board, just to here's their ads, right?
yeah,
And our top advertisers have the same tagline almost down to the word, right? Everybody over promises everything in one place all the time, and they solve every solution. They have the same color palette. If you
No,
look,
dude, I have a tagline for one of our channels called Palm. It's a
yeah,
residential. It's the Kobayashi Group in Hawaii,
yeah,
and it's Palm Luxury Redefined.
yeah,
And like, I probably definitely didn't have that tagline, but I thought I was one of the first. And now it's like you Google it, everybody has it. Like
dude.
yeah.
No,
That's
and that's digital, right? They just A/B test. I worked with and like a couple of people at an innovation lab at an unknown sportswear company, and I was talking about like our like initial ML deep learning research platform that we were doing before we switched into the platform. And I met with this guy and he's like, oh, we literally just throw words into the ether, A/B test them, and then try to develop ideas around that. I'm like, that is the most broken creative process. It's no
yeah.
wonder why you guys are besmirched constantly. But no, but dude, so we look at this competitive set, and it's like it's not just the tagline, it's their color palette. It's if you look at the images they put out there, it's all this like 2008 San Francisco tech pool,
Yeah.
which is one so tired. And now the zeitgeist is moving towards like, listen, like Google and Microsoft and these guys, they're big brother now. Like and this battle of billionaires that's going on, it's like it's funny. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but like there's definitely an undercurrent of like you guys are billionaires. Like nobody cares. Like, yeah, go humiliate yourself, but the world is searching for new. And it's not going to come from, I don't know, from whatever the market is. So for us, man, we're literally like, I'm in this, like, we're getting ready for launch and to start opening the floodgates to let people in. And from like even our pricing model, but definitely the message and how we reach people, it's like, I want to go old school, man. I'm trying
Well,
to find the us versus them.
I tell everybody, I don't tell everybody, but people in my industry, like our publishing division is still very lucrative,
Yeah.
because people are trying to, sign off from digital and picking up, a very well crafted and done publication is something, it's like an old fashioned book or a novel. You want to just turn off, feel the page, see the picture,
Yep.
read without the bright screen. Like there's something about it. I'm very careful on who I launch a publication with, but like when the partner is right and the demographic is right, it's like, man, I can't tell you how many like reviews or testimonials like that I receive. It's an old school form of media. And every time I'm at a meeting and somebody's like, our print budget is going down, I'm like, I don't know if you're in the right marketing position.
Yep.
Like I question marketing execs sometimes because they instantly, I almost need to reword it and say
Yeah.
like, I've tried it, like direct mail and catalogs is humongous right now,
Yeah.
right? And it has been for decades and decades before we were born, right? But what's the difference of sending, a direct mail to you hope somebody's going to do it, or a lot of these brands are sending direct mail to the existing customer that's not reaching anybody new. And I know they're like, oh, look, a new pair of shoes. They already got fed that digitally.
Yeah.
So these catalogs are antiquated and old, and time they reach the consumer,
Yeah.
unless they strategize and give the catalog before digital, which does, I doubt that's happening. So it's just like print is, it's becoming like a it's like a trend again, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, if it is a trend again and people are desiring it, it goes right back down to that captive audience and guaranteed eyeball.
Well, and I think it gets also to the quality aspect. Like the reason I brought up the fifth color ads was like one of the things you and I always bonded over was like we would like
Oh yeah,
touch and feel like a page, right? And it was like this the
it,
texture matters, right?
still do it.
Still, yeah. No, it's true, man. Like, and funny enough, like that's like how this started off is like I've talked to so many people, and I've always mirrored this. Is you're right? Is like the antiquated discount catalog or the like the mattress ad print review where you get the coupon book. Like, yeah, sure, you have some people, it has its audience, but it's a return back to quality and understanding the message. And that's where I think especially with these materials is like it's three phases. Like one, Dude, I was taught very early, and it kind of went the way of the dodo because we rose with digital, but it's still very true. The power of a handwritten note is so powerful, right? Just like a handwritten, take the time and mail it out. And guess what? It costs like a
Nothing.
nominal amount of money, right? Like nothing to do that. It's just a little bit of time and attention. Go beyond that. And it's like, yeah, a piece of direct mail that's actually like done to you, that's not cheesy or crappy or an insurance card or something, is so freaking valuable. In our
Yeah.
space, if we look at like customer acquisition cost and retention cost, like all these metrics, you're looking at most SaaS companies. I was doing the market research, are at like $800 a person.
Wow.
That's insane. Like go look at the CAC costs, man. It's nuts. And so
That is.
when you go into that, and it's like so you get even lower, like $200, $150 for that initial acquisition and retention costs. Like you're telling me that if I sent you a $20 box with something like super legit that captured your attention, like a new hat that would cost me like $20, it was actually, retained, that you wouldn't spend the time to go log into my, it's like digital
Yeah.
costs, because it's so crowded, digital costs so much now, is that there is a legit calculation to say, yeah, I could throw a party for $30 a head and capture my audience and just make them download the app at the door, more than I could just distribute all of these just digital ads to try to capture this audience over and over and over again, and spray and pray.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes down to the brand and whoever's running the brand to realize, what's more important, in regards to a consumer, right? Like you're right. Like some brands, you don't see much social like advertising. They have their own channel, right? And they have their followers, but like, it dilutes the brand, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and that's for us, man. Like one of the things that we're looking at doing. I mean, we have to, right? We can't outspend anybody, right? We don't have the budget for that. And like, but for us, it's like, well, shit, let's go make a splash. Like one, our voice and our tone and who we're built for and built of, right, is different. Like we're not, frankly, we didn't come from like the super high mucky tech world, right? Is like we are operators that built this thing to solve a real problem for like you and I. Like this is a problem you and I always had, and it was like basically I just built a problem that like us crazy ADHD entrepreneurs
Yeah.
needed. But beyond that is like, well, let's just go back to it. Let's make a splash, and let's do some stunts. Let's have a
Well,
message that doesn't fall into the traps.
well, you're going through it. I'm in year 14, going to be year 15 here soon, right? And I always, I'm at a point now I have to grow an organization. I'm still an entrepreneur, but now I'm running and growing a business. It's a little different, right? So it's like I have this different like mindset to get, it's steps now, right? But I always, in the back of my head, it's like, I don't know if this is in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, like this next endeavor, whatever it is, how do I slow I hate to use the word slow myself down, but focus on maybe one thing and that's it, right? So I have multiple partners, right? On the advertising side, the distribution side, we're managing, 300 plus clients in a year, right? Like, and it's like that's what I built. That's what I knew I was getting into. But like one day, I've always said, well, what if I only had to focus on one product, or if I owned one hotel and and you just again, I don't think it's slowing down the life. It's just like super focusing on this one entity that you're involved. You still make revenue, that's like the goal. You got to live and support yourself, but it's like, you know, I I look forward to that one day. I just don't know exactly what that is. All right.
Yeah, you and I have had this discussion, right? It's like my pipe dream of having the corner restaurant with my apartment on top of it and a rooftop somewhere in New York, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the dream, and just open it up whenever. We gotta hustle to make that dream come true. But I don't know, man. I like personally just knowing you, I know what. My prediction is, yeah, you're going to get it to the point you're going to like buy a hotel, make it the sickest hotel in the entire world, and you're going to be like, I bet I could make 2 of these hotels.
Yeah, maybe, but that's an, I'm in that space, and it's like,
Yeah,
how do you separate yourself? Because everybody is saying the same thing. And, I go to these, I don't know what you're doing at the end of this month, but I go to this independent lodging congress, right? I'm
yeah,
on the advisory board. I've told you about these
yeah.
ILC. I love them. It's all hotel owners, business owners, C-level people. But the conversation again, and all of these conferences, like, so redundant, and everybody's
Yeah.
trying to do the same exact thing. And how do you separate yourself in hospitality? The way it is different experiences within each property. And so this new partnership I just landed with Alberge Resorts, right? So there's the Four Seasons. You go to a Four Seasons, you know exactly what you're getting, and you love it, right? It's got that, it's 5-star service. It's got the restaurants, the pools, spas. It's Four Seasons. Alberge takes the back seat and lets the hotel shine and the experience within that hotel shine, which is super unique and special, right?
Yeah.
So like every hotel's not named Alberge; it's the name of a hotel,
Yeah.
and the hotel owners are still very much engaged
Yeah.
with the actual property because they
Yeah.
built their properties based off of an experience:
Yeah.
horseback riding, skiing,
Yeah.
wine country. So that, to me, I don't want to say it's the future. People are already doing it, but that gives genuineness to it,
Yeah.
right? Where Alberge is the streamlined, consistent management company. It's making sure it
Yeah.
all works.
That's where, yeah, I introduced you to my buddy Travis, who's out in New York and does
Yep.
he's awesome. He's working on a project in uh Sonoma right now that's badass, right? And I'll tell you about it offline because I don't know if it's public, but but regardless, it's exactly that, right? He's taken like the private ownerships, their needs, going to the place of Sonoma, making it that experience, and then combining them. And it's amazing. And those are like, listen, like you and I are the same way. We've been able to travel, we've done this, we know the hospitality. Like I did that with Minor, that had like, the basic business, then the brand names, then the luxury, and then there was this other tier that to me was so special. And it's like either like ultra luxury or experience based, and it's like you're not going there for a brand name. It's not marketing brand name, it's marketing the experience, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and
100.
that's it. Yeah, and that's where I don't know, it's like, yeah, I think about that even on the other side of it, right? Which is, my sister lived in like rural Nevada for a while. And so she's like a road tripper, and she would go on the other side of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Right. And on the eastern side of the Sierra Nevadas, not on like the Cali side and the Tahoe and all the
Yeah.
famous things, are like a string of hot springs down the mountain. Right.
Oh,
Because
wow.
because of all the volcanic stuff. And then there's these places like the darkest place in the United States is like right there. I think it might be the darkest place in the world, is like in that region that you can go to, and it's total pitch dark and sound dark. And
Mm.
and these ranches and these different experiences that just exist, and they exist for people. And that if you want to go and experience it, and it sounds amazing, but it's so off the beaten track. And the same thing exists in like, like Jackson and all that, where you can get it on a luxury side and it's amazing. But for us, man, like I'm trying to like simultaneously put the brand hat on and then the founder hat on. And I'm like, my theory is, man, that I think SaaS platforms are now, like, this is my big theory. I think we need to be hitting the market like a CPG company, like a product
Yeah.
company, right?
Yeah.
And just be like, stop with the technology. Like, technology is now ubiquitous enough that like features, I don't care about features when somebody does something. Like, I want to relate to the company. I want to relate to that. And so I've been trying to shape every day. And our message when we go out is more of like being one of us. Like, are you, somebody with crazy ideas that you want to manifest? Or like, better than that, like, are you somebody that needs to build those ideas? Right. And the problem is that when we look at markets, everybody's like, oh, what's your category? And it's like, if we say like creative class, people are like, oh, designers. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, I know so many creative people that are not designers. Like, you are a creative person. And
but I don't know how to work the tools sometimes.
but
Yeah.
that doesn't matter, right?
But does Rick Rubin know how to work a soundboard?
No,
Yeah.
no. But that's
And
my
I'm
point.
definitely not Rick Rubin, but I'm just saying, like,
You're my
it's
Rick
hard
Rubin.
yeah. I wish I was a mixture of like Rick Rubin and Michael Keaton. Like those are my two idols.
Those are, dude, the greatest Batman of all time.
Yeah,
And I mean,
Music Man.
Rick Rubin. Dude,
Yeah,
that
but
picture
like,
of Rick. Oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah, you did the cover. Do you remember that for the
Yeah.
Chinatown Portland? But the thing, it's like creativity isn't. It's so crazy because some
Yep.
creative people that know how to design they're actually not that creative, and they are a system robotic
Mm,
person that's
mm,
plug and play. And then true creative, sometimes it's more of an eye or
mm,
a hear or like a movement or like sound, and it's challenging because it's like, oh, you're a creative driver, but you never have any experience in the actual like design process or something. It's like, I don't believe in that shit.
yeah. That,
Um,
dude, you're right, man. And it's like, I've been trying to separate this, like really hone in on how to communicate this to people, even for like getting cohorts into it, like, because we're just recruiting. And it's like, listen, I can do it this very simple matrix, like this 2x2 matrix. And that's individual contributors and people managers on one, right? And you can be a creative on both sides. You can be a creative that is just an individual contributor, like you're a designer, or you can be a creative that's like a people manager that just is able to direct and curate and everything. Like, I would say you're more in that latter, right? And then it's just at what level? Like, do you work by yourself or do you work within an organization, right?
yeah,
And that's like, because if I get any more specific, it loses the punch, right? You have to be relatively vague in that, if you will, because of exactly what you're saying. I have met, dude, here's the other side of it. I have met creatives on the analytical side that just jump from mountaintop to mountaintop, and they can't prove information in that valley, right? But they just know, they get it because they have these macro minds. Like, the mind of a designer takes complex solutions and makes them very simple, right?
yeah,
That's a designer to me, not whether you use Photoshop or not, right? It's, can you take very complex systems and simplify them, right?
yep,
And then there's people that can go through the valley, right? And just do the analytics and separate the signal from the noise, if you will. Those people should work together. It's a brilliant combination when you have those working together. But also, those types can be entrepreneurs like yourself, right? That just like, boom, mountaintop to mountaintop, and you get the trough. But do you want to do all the analytics and the macroeconomics? Probably not. But you
no,
understand mechanisms, right? And for us, that's what we're trying to attract, is like, to me, quote unquote, creative class ICP has nothing to do with whether you touch Adobe Photoshop, right? Now, do we platform Figma? Do we allow you? Sure. But creative types are, dude, those can be like ground floor working, Ian from Deadstock, right? He has done amazing things with his coffee and his coffee shop and his ideas. He started off as a fucking janitor, man.
good.
Like,
I mean,
and
yeah,
and how many, like, if you think about it, when he was a janitor at Nike, I know he's charming and he did all those things, but how many people do you think discounted him because he wasn't
yeah,
in the position?
yeah, probably 80, 90, 95%. Right.
Exactly.
And then when he became, who he is, and I had the pleasure of meeting him through you, but then everybody wanted to hang out with him. And
Yeah.
everybody, yeah. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's not appearance, but it's like like you're only as cool or popular, whatever those words even mean, until you're like in a place of like need, right? If something is in trend, right? And he was ahead of the trend for his space, and he brought the cool factor in regards to the sneaker knowledge into it. Now the CMOs want to talk to him more,
Yeah.
right? And they probably want to do a collab with him, right? And which is great. He just had a reverse his, kind of character to a certain point, because
Yeah.
there's he's probably, well, I know he's probably exactly the same awesome guy as a janitor to a business owner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, and that's true, man. It got me onto a question. I am very interested as like one brand person to another, and especially one that manages brands and builds them. Do you think the personal brand is dead? Like the curated? Okay, so let me give you context. One of the avenues that I see that I've been fed up with lately is LinkedIn, because it's becoming more and more popular as a channel for people to like market, and it's valuable, right? You do get a lot of value out of that. But I've been seeing so much, and I think everybody you talk to sees it as well, is like the humble brag, the tone deaf announcements, right? And the false projection of expertise, right? Whatever you want. Now that
yeah,
said, give people a channel for it, but like more and more is like that sense of like developing your personal brand and like just curating everything you do is like, is it dead? Is it going through a change? Like, what do you think?
I think being yourself and an individual is something you should always pride yourself on, right? Of just being passionate on not your company, on who you are, right? And not overdoing it. My tagline: stay humble and always move forward. And the valleys and peaks are throughout, because you get to a certain point in life, and you might feel invincible, and then something crashes down on you, and you're starting all over. But the people that have that self brand, will continue to humbly climb back up. And I think you'll always have, on a personal side, you'll have dear friends, which I pride myself of, like, having friends.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends go, Jason, you end up and you're always around. You never aren't present. If I don't see you for 6 months or 10 years, you're back. You're in my hometown. You're visiting me, and that's like how I was built, right? And with or without NMG, I'm still going to be proud of, like, the brand that I built, right? And I think making it memorable, right? Like, I'm going through it as more of this company grows, and the Nella Media Group is no longer there. It's not even called Nella Media Group anymore in Hawaii. I still get Nella because I founded it in Hawaii, but as I grow and it's becoming NMG Network, or it is in the NMG Global, I'm starting to see people, as the company grows, ask me, what do I do within the company? And that is a very humbling kind of, statement when you're asked, because you're proud of it, because the company's working without you. But then you go, oh wow, are they judging me like a janitor because I wear a hat and I'm scruffy? And I mean, serious, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
NMG is growing to a certain point where executives, whatever that means, because I feel like I am one to a certain point, are going to have to come in,
yeah,
right, and run the organization. I don't, and I tell this to my team, I tell this to my investors, I tell this into my board, whoever. I never planned on running an organization. I planned on building one, right? But as this company is growing and more I realize I don't want to run an organization. I want to be in front of the people, right? I want to talk about the vision. I want to talk about the growth. I always want to be evolving. I'm never satisfied on a product. I want to always see it evolve into something even better. But to answer your question on the self brand, I think we must have that as entrepreneurs. Now, again, it could be great for the business, but it's more important to build your brand personally.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, dude, you're gonna have friends and family.
yeah, yeah. And that's a good point. And I think you get into the nuance of it, right? Which is always important. I've been it's funny, just like switching really quickly to the topic of brand. Like, like at ampersand days, like I've been one of the biggest proponents of brand for 20 years,
Ever.
if not more, right?
Yeah.
Like I believe in brand, and I believe it's essential, and it constantly gets like bites from the outside that take presence over it, but it returns to it, right? And we've had all these metaphors and analogies for it over the years, like, oh, a brand is like a person, or, you know, use other brands to represent you analogously, or mine, I eventually built this into like what we would study, and it was like, oh, a brand is like, you know, a frame, right? It's a framework for things moving in. And I was thinking about this the other day because I was listening to some Buddhist thing, you know, just finding myself constantly.
My kid is half Buddhism. He's half Buddha.
Yeah, man.
Little Boon me. Boon
It's
me.
Boone me. He's gonna get it, man. He's gonna have such a awesome upbringing. But he'll get it. And the idea was that people are like water, right? And time is like water, like a river, right? And every time you show up and it looks like the same river, but that river is never the same as the last time you saw it. It's constantly different, right? And, you know, so the shape of it even changes over time, but in general, like, you get the broader view and it looks like that, but you have to actually go into the river to really experience it, right? To the bottom of the river. I'm totally screwing the actual Buddhist side of this up, but
no, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, to the point, I think that brands are very much, in my framework idea, is more like a river, right? And you build, you know, the banks of it, and you see the water flowing through that, and that's the consumers and the products, but it's always changing. And there's always emergent factors, and there's always the tides and the you know, the flow and the pace and how much is going through it at the time. And I think that's very an apt analogy for a brand and actually a company, right? Because you know, it might start as a stream and grow and grow and grow, and it's going to eat up the things around it, but it's also like people float down it, right? Crossing that, what contributes to it, and the fact that it's constantly changing. Every individual that contributes to the building of your brand or your business, from outside partners to, you know, the employees, they're constantly changing. And you know, their bad days, their good days contribute to their input at work, right? And this is all a very fancy way of saying is, you know, a brand has to be nuanced, right? And it has to
And an
contribute both,
individual.
and an
An
individual.
individual has to be nuanced to create the brand that's nuanced, and then your team within. I mean, it keeps it's trickled. Everybody in the team has to have that same vision and same
Yeah,
understanding, and then you will accomplish the brand of all brands. And if we go down the list, and it'll take forever, but you know, you look at these brands, like, I'm in the luxury space, right? I
yeah,
work with some of the best brands in the world, from the Louis Vuitton to the Fendis, the Gucci's, the Hermeses, the Harry Winston. They care so much about the brand. That is
yeah,
why they're successful, right?
yeah,
And they've been around for hundreds of years, some of them, right? And that is why, right? And some of these fast, what do they call, like fast fashion? Some of these fast
yeah.
brands that are
That's
coming in, and yeah, it's timeless. All right, let me ask you, like, when you buy a weekend bag, you buy a pair of boots at this age now, right? And I always kind of I always did it since I was young. You buy your boots, you buy your sweater, you buy, you know, like, you're good, your accessories. You're spending more. You're spending extra. You know why?
yeah,
Because you don't want a new bag next year. You want that one. You know, you see me travel. I have one leather weekend bag,
yeah,
and that thing has been around the world. And I think when people start really, well, let me rephrase that. When the world, it goes back to tribe days. Do you think they had two pairs of shoes? I know my grandpa had like three suits, black, you know, pinstripe, and like a dark gray one. He had about five different shirts, and that's it.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So
No, I love that, man. And yeah, you and I have been the same. It's funny, as I was talking about this, I think, because most of my stuff's in storage right now. And I was like, I have had this jacket since New York, my pea coat, that I
you probably
love.
love it.
Oh,
I
I
have the same
love.
one. The
Yeah,
the
and
the, the real deal Pico.
the real deal. And like, and I love it, man. And it's
Never
like,
goes out of style.
no, it doesn't. And that's like well, I have a very simple way of like dealing with that stuff. And it's, you know, cost per use, right? If I'm going to use this every day, I'm going to spend more money on it because I want it to be quality. And I think there are people with fast fashion who just I can get into, right, on how wasteful it is on a global
Yeah,
level,
yeah.
but also just from the level of like, hey, buy something that means something to you. Take pride and ownership, and also look at it as like, I feel like cars should be the same way. And we live in a world where people want to replace their cars every year.
Oh my God, Macy just got we got one in Hawaii because we have the little guy now, and like they're expensive,
Bro,
right? Yeah, I'm like, I mean, you still have Larry, I'm guessing, right?
I still have Larry, man. I love Larry.
Yeah, but he lasted a long time. But like, we had to get an SUV, and I love it. It's the Volkswagen Atlas because it's lower but still wide, so it fits in the parking garage.
You love a
I
Volvo.
had no idea. I do, but we tried them. I wanted the
Yeah.
Volvo SUV, but it's narrow and it feels like a car inside.
Hmm.
And Macy, as she drives trucks and all that, and she wanted to like feel like more of like a full size SUV. But
Yeah,
long story short is like I had no idea what these things cost.
bro.
I always followed Land Rover world, and I know the best of the best is like 150 grand in it, and it's a
Yeah.
tank, right?
Yeah.
It's probably more nowadays. So I was like, well, this ain't a Land Rover. There's no offense to a Volkswagen, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
Audi family. It's great. But I'm like, how much is this thing? 40 grand. And I was like, it was like 60,
Yeah.
and I'm like, is that what these materialistic things that don't appreciate at all? It's like throwing money into the space.
Oh,
And
bro.
it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, on the car side, man, it's really interesting because I have had Larry and I love Larry. Larry's been all around the world, man. Larry is probably one of the only cars still driving that is driven on Maui, Oahu, and the mainland.
How? What year is that?
Oh, 07.
Yeah, it still looks cool. And did you notice all these SUVs are going boxy again, like super boxy?
Yeah, bro. Of course I did because it was.
Yeah.
Listen, we have Design Eye, and I credit on that, and I also credit Fletcher Jones. Give a shout out to that awesome brand, but there who sold it to me back in the day, back in Hawaii, and I was able to take the super ferry when that still existed to
Oh yeah.
Maui, drive it through Lahaina. Man, we haven't even talked about that stuff, but and then shipped it over here and have driven it all across the country, man.
Is it with you now?
Yeah, he's in Cali. He's a desert vehicle, so he's been a island vehicle, a beach vehicle, a forest vehicle, a mountain vehicle.
I
He's great.
I think he's a newer friend of mine. I would say a little over a year. The CEO of Surfco,
Yeah,
this guy named Peter Dames, just a great, talented guy. He worked for like Toyota Japan, super exec. Moved to Hawaii. He's always been in touch. Anyway, he was showing me the Land Cruiser is coming back out,
yeah, man,
and like that thing looks like a tweaked version of the old one. They just like kind of,
dude.
and
And
it's insane.
I'm actually I've been at some point. Larry is going to either need a brother or to be replaced. And I don't think I'll ever sell him because he's holding strong, 140,000 miles, not tons. I've done a lot of work to him, right? Just to
Yeah,
replace everything. But like the stories, and it's beautiful. It's boxy, right?
perfect.
It's spacious. It's
Feels safe.
comfortable. It's safe. Terrible gas mileage. I wash him and he looks luxurious still. And,
Yeah,
but regardless of even aside from that, like, things will change, have to get updates. And I wanted the Land Rover Defender to be special because I have been obsessed with the Land Rover Defender since I was a
yeah, I know.
kid, and I almost bought a couple of the old ones and didn't because of different things. I should have. They've appreciated a ton, but this new Defender, I had so many high hopes, and people love them. They drive nicely, but I just can't get behind the look. I can't get
Yeah,
behind it. And then Toyota comes out saying they're discontinuing the Land Cruiser, and then they launch this like the I forget the like the 270 or whatever their
yeah.
code models are. Bro, it looks great. And it's Toyota, and I hope Toyota like stays because I've liked what they did with the other ones. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I might become a Toyota guy.
Well, Toyotas, like that culture, they do things right, right, and it lasts forever. It's just like gets back down to the brand, right? And so brands need to. Here's a thing, and I won't mention names this time, but some brands that I've encountered don't embrace the demographic that's been following them.
Nah.
They feel like, well, they're getting old. We need the young demographic. I'm like, people forget that the young demographic always aspired to be the old demographic, to be able to afford that bag or that sweater that they could. So it's like it's a timing thing. So it's
Yeah.
not like, hey, I got to make my brand be in trend. It's like, no, our demographic is 35 to 60, right? And we'll wait till that person could afford instead of trying to go, we got to look like 20-year-olds. Like that's where is one brand I've always battled with, because they started with me. They were a big client of mine. They could, my media, they could afford anything in that store, and then they were like, yeah, my C-level people are like, you got to go to like the this is years ago, like more of the millennial. I go, the millennials are freaking 40-year-olds now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's you can't claim that millennial term no more of like young people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
middle-aged people,
Yeah.
like, and it's just like, you're trying to, you almost are discrediting the brand that you built for 100 years.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was young, you remember the Sean Connery ad with the Louis Vuitton,
Yeah.
right? Whatever, it's just like, man, one day I wish I hope I could walk in a Louis Vuitton and get the old school duffel bag.
Yeah.
Right. And still can't afford it, but like it's the
No, but to your point, man, is like, and I think that is very, very true of like the timing, especially because, and there's also the timeless aspect of it. Is like, are you building for the brand and the demographic and the product, or are you building to try to attack a demographic set to sell more? And it's like the constant battle that goes on. And it's like, listen, we all know you can make decent money. Fast fashion brands have done it. Their brands don't matter. If you hear the name Zara or Forever 21, that I think is bankrupt now, is like, yeah, you think of cheap, crappy things that are like on trend that you'll throw away, right? That's it. So if you're ever off, you're going to be discounted. Now, then you think
Yep.
of like long-term brands, and like Land Rover is a perfect example, man. You know what they got famous for? Crappy cars for a long time that were really, even Land Rover fans were like, built on a Monday or built on a Friday. One will catch fire, one will last you a lifetime, right? And is like,
Yeah.
thankfully, Larry was built on, a Monday and everybody showed up to work, right? But that's very true. And then there's the classic like car models. Dude,
What was that
the
Mercedes that never really markets? One of the car brands never really have marketing, and
yeah,
like it's
I
one
think
of
it
them.
is Mercedes does very little. And there's dude,
Or you
there's
look
a
at like Ferrari or Lamborghini, you don't see an ad for Ferrari.
and that's the point, right? Because it's not meant to be advertised. And I mean, you saw what
No.
happened with Coach, right?
Yeah.
Coach went downhill because they tried to be the everybody gets a purse, and they did. And Mercedes actually did the same thing with their C Class for a while because they
Yeah.
tried to make a budget vehicle that was approachable. And then guess what? You're the budget vehicle. There's no aspiration, right? When in reality, it's like Toyota, I think, has, everybody, it didn't really change. The Forerunner, the Tacoma, all these things for so long. It's like, yeah, but it's reliable. You know what you're getting.
It lasts a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a couple of bolts and you change it. And then people get lost on that, right? They get lost because I mean, here's the other thing with brands that I'm finding is people say they want one thing and they actually want another, right? And you and I know this is like Apple is a great example, right? Is like when they launch, I had this discussion, I always bring it up with my brother-in-law, with Clubber, who's like the most cost benefit freaking guy ever, and I love him for it. And his daughter, my goddaughter, wanted AirPods for the first time. He goes, why
Yep.
did I spend $100 when I can get the same quality for 20? And it was like, he's like, I'm not a brand person. I have this. And I was like, great, but you are a brand person because your brand is utility,
Well,
right? Utility.
speaking of, I what are these things called? iPads,
AirPods.
iPods,
Yeah.
earpods. I didn't get the high level, but they come with the low level. I got the mid level. It's crazy, man. Like how much better they are. Like it's
Yeah.
It's cool.
But it's
But
that system is very simple, right? And that's one thing that Apple has kind of lost its way, but has tried to do, which is keep a closed system. And people fight against it. And they're like, why can't I adopt everything this way and the other? Because the closed system lets it be simple, right? And
yep.
that lets it be. And then, on the other end, yeah. But regardless, man, I know we're reaching the end of this. Dude, congratulations on the new media thing. I would love, I want to get you like half an hour with Sean in the next week to just see the product, right? And talk
Let
to
me know.
Sean and myself. And then we obviously got to get you on a cohort and everything, man. But I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Wait, where's the ILC? Where's the Independent Lodging Congress?
Feel free to come. San Francisco, short flight for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a good network because it's so tight. Speaking about conferences and brand, the founder Andrew, he kept it tight, 250 max. Like
Right.
it's a good thing that we talk. It's about your personal brand because you go in there, you don't really talk much about your business. You get along, you get introduced, and then it all happens organically. So it's the 23rd to the 20 through the 25th.
Cool. All right.
So yeah, but if you're
Yeah,
around.
I may be in Seattle, shoring up some things. But dude, great to hear from you. I
Yeah,
miss your
man.
face. We gotta be in person. If you're in the Bay, I might just try to pop up and see you anyways.
Well,
But
I told you I'm getting an apartment in Utah November 1st, right?
Utah?
Yeah, it's a middle. So Macy's family from Laos, some
Yeah.
went to Hawaii, some went to Utah. So all
Yeah.
of her first cousins, her aunties, her uncles.
Where in Utah?
Yeah, man. 25 minutes south of the airport, Salt Lake City. It's called West Jordan. It's a brand new condominium that just got built. It's
Yeah.
crazy how affordable it is. And I'm going to be there, and I'm between Hawaii and New York, and
Bro,
yeah,
I have family in Zion and like St. George.
yeah. So
So
November 1st, we get the keys.
bro, okay. Well, we're in the same region.
Yeah,
I'm a couple hours, I'm 6 hours away actually. My like literally my family is driving right now and they're going to Utah and then coming here.
well, there
So
you go.
all
So
right, man.
I'm fine. I'm finally doing it. Just because I'm in charge of this global growth. Joe is running a ship in Hawaii, and yeah, it's time to do it.
Cool, man. All right, brother. Well, thank you very much. I'll be posting this probably in the next couple of days.
Yeah, just let me know.
All right, brother. I will talk to you soon.
All right, later, bro.